We are starting to see the days get a little longer. That is, in terms of sunlight every day, and because of that, we'd like to remind you, if you have not yet, you should be considering window tints because they'll help keep your home, your office, your automobile cooler in summer. But year round will also cut down on UV light that is coming through those windows and acting as a bleaching agent on many of your valuables, including a lot of material in the house that you have. So you can get a free estimate done. We recommend you give the folks at Tint Lady a call, 736-8469. Now, this is a business that has been in Twin Falls now for nearly a quarter century, locally owned and operated. You can find them online at tintladyidaho.com. 1887 Highland Avenue East in Twin Falls as well. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday by appointment only, and closed on Sundays. And remember, don't squint, get tint. I referenced the situation in Oregon that's going on over at the Malheur Wildlife Refuge. Jeremy Lott, a guy writing today in a publication called Washington Examiner, which is one of the leading mouthpieces for conservatives in Washington. Will Oregon standoff lead to Occupy West? Asking if what's going on there. And I saw a great comment yesterday. A blogger was writing about this and saying, no, it is not terrorism. Nobody is in any danger. It's not about terrorism. And one of the comments in the comment section of that particular blog, the commenter said, when the Occupy demonstrators from the left took over a portion of the state capitol in Oregon, they were cheered on by the then governor. So there is a double standard definitely going on here. The writer says the Washington Examiner found locals to be annoyed with the occupiers and embarrassed with all of the press coverage they are garnering for the sparsely populated county. However, the locals are generally unafraid of the men and a few women who are actually camping out at the wildlife refuge. So there you go. Nobody feels terrorized. Generally, he says, Republicans have expressed sympathy for the standoffers' cause, but revulsion for their methods. Yet, not all conservatives, elected or otherwise, have been quick to condemn the standoffers. And he writes, take Raul Labrador. And I know you Democrats are saying, yes, please. A Republican member of the House of Representatives from nearby Idaho who did not support Bundy, patriarch Cliven Bundy's run-in with the federal government 2 years ago. This time around, he's more conflicted. Labrador called the sentences that were handed out to ranchers Dwight and Steve Hammond that started this whole episode unjust. He emphasized the peaceful nature of the takeover, and he called the occupation civil disobedience, although this time with guns. However, they're not using long guns. At least they're not brandishing them publicly. Just a bunch of guys walking around with their sidearms. And, of course, we do have a right to carry. And then this writer decided to give a telephone call to a woman who teaches at a college professor at Florida State. Her name is Deanna Rollinger. And she said, this can have a positive impact. She said, for all of the media coverage about how terrible it is, and the left screaming that we need to go in there and gun all of these people down, she points out that when Native Americans, or the Aboriginal peoples of this country, some of them took over Alcatraz in the late 1960s, they occupied it for months. And then President Nixon was willing to negotiate, and it turned around our government's relationships with those Aboriginal tribes, and they actually won more self-governance. Was it right that they went and they took over the prison? Well, you be the judge on that. Or how about Wounded Knee in South Dakota? I remember I was just a tyke then at the time. I think it was in the 5th grade or so, when you had a group of people who were occupying that area. And eventually it was all negotiated out. So she believes that this is going to draw attention to some of those serious issues when it comes to land. And as I said yesterday, if the President of the United States truly wants to go out of office and be considered at least a man who tried to unite Americans instead of always divide them, then he will pardon Dwight and Steve Hammond. You know, a good start would be tonight, somewhere during the course of the State of the Union address, if he did exactly that. The problem, of course, with the left sees this as an opportunity, not necessarily to unite people, but to divide them. Hillary Clinton was making an appearance in Iowa yesterday at something called the Brown and Black Forum. Need I say anything more? What did Clinton have to say? Well, she was questioned by one of the people of color there about people who are white causing terrorism and not getting anywhere near the response that somebody who would be a darker-skinned person or a member of the Islamic faith would get for terrorism. And look what Clinton did with this. She turns it into a gun issue. All right? She's not, she's there. I actually have the sound. My button, we call it the quick button here, did not fire when I went to bring that up. Perhaps we'll have to hold on to this for a minute or so. I do believe we have Mrs. Clinton's words. Yes, we do. And here's Hillary Clinton. People are sitting out there saying, no, you don't have to play Hillary Clinton. It's like nails on a chalkboard.
Do you believe that white terrorism and extremism is as much a threat to some in this country as something like ISIS?
You know, I think that we have all kinds of threats in our country.
We'll get back to that because I've got a hard break coming up. But I want you to hear this. The question that this kid is asking, when he said, white terrorism, what is he talking about? I'll share the entire exchange with you in just a moment. And then you can be the judge on that. Kelton Hatch will be joining us in the next hour of the program from Idaho Fish and Game. If you've got a question or comment for him, feel free to give us a shout after 9 o'clock this morning. Keep in mind, if you don't have our number written down and you need to memorize it, maybe through rote memory, I'll repeat it again. 736-0300. It's 8:30 and 22. So I referenced Hillary Clinton making an appearance at this thing in Iowa called the Brown and Black Forum. I'm reminded of a story many, many, many years ago. I have a niece. She's about 25 years old now, but she was just a little girl, and I was living in a much larger city, a few hours from where we'd grown up, and my sister still lives in our hometown. And so she and my niece decided to come and pay me a visit, but they thought they would do it by bus and spend a few days. So they got on this little bus, local regional carrier, and they took that bus to another large city where they were going to catch a Greyhound and then travel a couple of hours to see me. And when they rolled into the bus terminal, they got off for their transfer and grabbed a quick bite to eat, and my sister got my niece on the new bus, and my niece climbed on that bus and looked around. Now, you got to remember, coming from a small dairy town that was almost 100% Caucasian, and sometimes 4-year-olds say things, they don't have what you call a governor. She got on the bus, looked at all of the people sitting there, and turned and said out loud to my sister, "Where did all of these brown people come from?" Now, my sister is only about 5'1", but that's still too large to climb under the seat and hide. It was just one of those moments she had to sort of suck up and tell my niece, shh, 8:35. Bill Colley, well, there are probably kids who've said worse, and that's why you have to be careful what you say around your children. It's 23 right now. When was the last time you asked a friend for medical advice? My friends at Tripp Family Medicine are going to be live with me each Wednesday morning during Top Story. Tomorrow being no different. In fact, we expect Dr. Jonathan Tripp. He'll be joining us. If you have a comment or question for the doctor, you're looking for some medical advice from a friendly voice, it won't cost you a cent to give him a call and get your question answered. And remember, of course, every Wednesday between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, Tripp Family Medicine always looking for new patients, located on Fillmore Street, directly across from the main post office in Twin Falls. And they have a great slogan, life's too short not to feel good. So this is Hillary Clinton speaking at the Brown and Black Forum. Apparently she believes she can cobble together enough votes from all sorts of different minority communities that she can offend Caucasians across the country. Listen to her answer here, and also listen to how she segs then into a separate subject.
Do you believe that white terrorism and extremism is as much a threat to some in this country as something like ISIS?
You know, I think that we have all kinds of threats in our country, and I wouldn't discount any of them. I think we have to take them all seriously. And many of those threats are fueled by the gun violence that we face every single day, where 90 Americans are killed by guns, homicide, suicide, tragic avoidable accidents. So one of the reasons why I'm so adamant and so much in support of President Obama's policies that he's rolled out is I just think as a nation we cannot sit idly by while 33,000 people a year die from gun violence.
First of all, she goes along with the questioner's view that, yes, there's white terrorism, whatever that may be. Number two, then she quickly segs, 4 years ago it was war on women, war on women, war on women. Now that won't work. Donald Trump has already destroyed that balloon when she floated it. So now they've got this gun. It's all about confiscation this year with the Democrats. They're going to stay on that single message from now through November. And she's not alone. In fact, the man who almost replaced her in this situation, because, well, she might still be off to prison sometime soon, so we could see Joe Biden again. Joe Biden was making an appearance on CNN talking to Gloria Borger, and he claims there are limits to gun rights.
So does Bernie Sanders have to change his position on gun manufacturers in order to have your support and you out there campaigning for him should he be the nominee or the president?
What Bernie Sanders has to do is say that the Second Amendment says, which he has of late, the Second Amendment says you can limit who can own a gun. That people who are criminals shouldn't have guns. People who are schizophrenic and have mental illnesses should not own guns. And he has said that.
So he's okay with you?
Yes, he's okay.
Oh, okay. Sure. Bernie Sanders coming from Vermont, even though he's a flaming socialist, and the state is about as blue and Marxist as you'll find anywhere in the United States, well, maybe with the exception of Hawaii, they still have all this great, beautiful landscape called the White Mountains and the Green Mountains, and the green take out most of the state, and then the white are just on the edge with New Hampshire. Lots of people go up there and they go hunting, and Bernie's all for gun ownership because it's helped him get reelected many times. He's a man of conscience until it comes to actually winning on Election Day. And then you got Biden saying, no, there are limits to the Second Amendment. Not according to the Supreme Court. They pretty well cleared that up, Mr. Biden. Maybe you weren't listening when that decision came down. You keep hearing that. And then he says, well, and we shouldn't allow criminals to have guns. We don't. But you know what? Because they're criminals, they break the law and they go get guns anyway. So what are you going to do? I mean, are you going to make another law and say, all right, don't do it again? I told you, stop right there. No, you did it. All right, this will be my third time. Here's a third law. Don't get guns if you're a criminal. He's got a gun again. Oh, how dare he? I know. And these people, not only do they run the country, they run all of our other major institutions. Sad, sad, sad. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. We've got more on the way. Hey, speaking of issues, did you know that the United Nations is actually selecting the Syrian refugees who are coming to the Magic Valley, and it's not anyone here in the United States? True story. Details coming up right here on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com.